Hera, Hestia, and Demeter, archetypes and goddesses of marriage, the hearth, and motherhood. In my previous video essays discussing the female archetypes, I focused on one archetype named for a Greek goddess based on the book Goddess and Everywoman by Jean Boulin. In this video essay, I want to break from that format slightly and discuss 3 separate archetypes. I'm not necessarily saying that these 3 are interwoven, but in my opinion, they share more in common than the others I have discussed. I'm not combining these archetypes into my own version, just relating them for the purposes of covering them all in my pre-planned 4-video essay format. However, it is not impossible that these 3 particular archetypes can be present in any one person. To me, the construction of these archetypes is not exactly scientific, it's more poetic. So please allow me some artistic license and leave a comment if you feel differently. The 3 goddesses I will be discussing here today are Hera, goddess of marriage, Hestia, goddess of the hearth, and Demeter, goddess of grain and motherhood. Hera the goddess is wife to Zeus, and thus firmly planted in the pantheon of Greek goddesses. Hera retains power by proxy through her marriage to her not-so-faithful husband. In modern context, it may be surprising that Hera would continue her marriage to a man that is so famously unfaithful.
Miranda, it's still me.
Is it?
But commitment is at the center of Hera's meaning. She exists to be the wife of a person. Her faithfulness through her unrequited romance is her purpose. To a Hera, a wedding day is the most important day of her life. It is the day that she most looks forward to as she is growing up, and it is the cornerstone of her adult life. And every day after is a validation on the commitment that she makes that day. This can be taken to a fault. If she's drawn into an argument, she will always take her significant other's side, even against her own children.
It has got to stop. I didn't spend 17 years of my life raising a daughter and giving her everything so she could throw it away on a summer romance.
Daddy,
she will wind up with her heart broken or pregnant.
Man.
Now, he is a nice boy. He's a nice boy, but he's
what?
He is
what?
trash.
Daddy.
Trash.
Even if he does not live up to the standards as a husband, she will stand by her commitment.
Do you love me?
Yes, I love you, Coretta.
Do you love any of the others?
Hestia, goddess of the hearth.
My sisters and I remember that winter as the coldest of our childhood. A temporary poverty had settled upon our family some years before. The war had made fuel and lamp oil scarce. But necessity is indeed the mother of invention. Somehow in that dark time, our family seemed to create its own light.
Hestia is the goddess of the hearth, the fire that heats the home. If Artemis is the goddess that brings light to dark places, Hestia is the one that keeps the fire forever burning at home, so the home will never know darkness. Worshippers of Hestia often opposed her with Hermes, a trickster god and the god of travelers.
Where have you been? Harry, how wonderful to see you, dear. Betsy.
As opposed to Hermes, who guides those who leave the home, Hestia safeguards those within the walls.
I've been calling you all day. You don't answer your phone.
You can't do that. Then this Hera thing happens. I've called 5 police stations.
Hestia is a virgin goddess, and as far as I can tell, has no actual romantic links to Hermes. Hestia as a woman is calm and gentle. She takes her time in accomplishing the daily tasks of living, such as cooking, cleaning, and gardening. Unlike an Athena or an Artemis who views tasks as things to be conquered, Hestia takes pleasure in the tasks themselves. Demeter, goddess of grain and motherhood. Similar to Hera, Demeter is the part of a woman that yearns to be a mother, to have and nurture a child of her own.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
I gotta go.
Honey?
Honey, I gotta go. I got.
Honey? Janice?
Yeah?
I'm taking Gary in the back.
As a child, the Demeter archetype is one who puts her dolls to sleep every night with love and care. Demeter is also the god of grain. She is the mother that ensures her children, all those in her care, are well fed.
How much are you cooking for these people?
It's a lot of people.
There's 3 of them.
And us.
And us makes 7.
And the family.
The family? You invited the whole family?
Of course.
Ma, I said come for a quiet dinner and meet my parents.
They might as well
She takes
meet the
pride
whole
in her
family,
ability to feed
right?
everybody who comes into her home. Being the goddess of nurturing, she is also known for her generosity. The shadows of these 3 archetypes are very similar, since each goddess is known for being overly protective, either of their husband, their home, or their children.
A little water clears us of this deed. How easy is it then?
To know my deed, twere best not know myself.
Bipolar shadow has 2 poles. A negative one, known as the coddling goddess,
Who we wish we were, what we wish we could do. It's just not meant to be.
and an active one, known as the raging goddess.
You were soft.
3?
I made you a fighter. Never.
The coddling goddess keeps her husband, guests, and children sheltered and safe from external threats, and thus they do not grow or ever learn how to protect or nurture themselves.
I'm fine, I already ate.
Wait. You've been kissing.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have. I can tell.
You can't tell.
Not only can I tell, I know who it is. It's Daryl.
The rageful goddess, although this trait is commonly associated with Hera for her rage against the women that threaten her marriage, but Hestia and Demeter can often become overly protected of their sheltered ways of life and their children respectively.
I don't even want to go to school in this state anyway. I hate California. I want to go to the East Coast.
Your dad and I will barely be able to afford in-state tuition.
In her rage, the goddess lashes out
Said I was soft.
Don't talk back to me.
at those who do not appreciate her and do not see her efforts as an expression of her affection. And as for the subjects of her rageful affection, the coddled can grow weak.
How big they are! No. This is what we're going to do. He said when we go out, we're going to buy you 2 new presents. How's that, Pumpkin?
While the rage dad can grow defiant. A happy medium must be struck in order to protect without smothering, and in order to encourage without intimidation.
You said you weren't going to cook for us anymore, so I taught myself how to cook.
Oh, honey, I'm so proud of you.
It may appear that these 3 archetypes I am discussing can be perceived to be aimed at stereotypical female traits: the housewife, the caretaker, the homemaker, the old maid.
I clean, I wash for you, and I raise 3 kids, and I teach Sunday school. You know, it's lucky for me I have you to tie my shoes.
But this is not too dissimilar to how one can view the warrior archetype as being comprised of stereotypically masculine traits, being overly aggressive, adverse to compromise. That being said, the traits that come with these archetypes should not be viewed as inherently masculine or feminine. Don't all people enjoy relaxing in a warm, well-kept house?
It's not much, but it's home.
I think it's brilliant.
Why do people marry if not to enjoy the company of their partner? And who does not love a child? I know there will still be people who may scoff at being compared to a Hera, a Hestia, a Demeter. But it would be hard for me to find one person that does not embody some aspects of these archetypes. In our modern world, it is less likely to run into a person that is a full-time spouse, caretaker, or mother. Most of my friends or relatives live in 2-income households or single-parent households. I myself share household and childcare responsibilities near 50-50, depending upon who you ask. And I have to say, most of the time I find the work of maintaining a relationship, a household, and raising children to be far more rewarding than any accomplishment I have ever had in my professional career. I can identify with the Heras, Hestias, and Demeters of the world, for all people should have a warm place filled with loved ones to come home to. For no matter how far we travel, we all come from some place and we must return one day to that same place. That place might as well be a warm, caring home. And I understand why some of these three archetypes may receive backlash from someone coming from a more feminist perspective.
Edit, tell her to make it short and spicy. And if the main character is a girl, make sure she's married by the end. Or dead, either way.
Excuse me?
Some people would likely object to the idea of a woman's sole function being to serve a husband, keep a warm house, or care for children. But please remember that I'm approaching these archetypes from a global perspective. Remember that as humans, we are all born to mothers. And even those of us who do not have a relationship with our biological mothers have probably come across some surrogate in our lives. All people, men, women, non-binary, have some connection to a mother.
I feel the same. If I come from the seed of a drunk gravedigger, the rancid womb of a whore.
Even bad men love their mamas.
I have noted in my previous video that other feminine archetypes have a relationship to being a mother, but this urge to care for those weaker than you is not solely feminine. Also, it's important to remember that no person is any one single archetype, not in the real world. We may embody these characteristics as needed at different times in our lives. Another observation I've made about these archetypes is that they seem rather one-dimensional when you find them in stories.
We're supposed to make decisions together.
Would you have made it any different?
This may be caused by the fact that most stories skew towards masculine heroes. But in comparison to male archetypes, not all of those are as prominently featured as others. It is always more interesting to write a story where the main character is a warrior or king, even a magician. Likewise, with female-centric characters, it would be more interesting to see an Athena or an Artemis at the center of a story. I've spoken in my previous videos about Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey and how it relates to male archetypes. I've also been intrigued by the feminine version of The Hero's Journey, The Heroine's Journey, by Maureen Murdoch. When I first read about it, I was surprised by how it was structured. I felt it was too different from The Hero's Journey, but somehow at the same time too similar. As a review, here are the stages of the hero's journey. 1. The hero begins in an ordinary world. 2. He is called to adventure. 3. He refuses the call. 4. He meets a mentor. 5. Crosses the threshold. 6. He is tested. 7. Is the ordeal. 8. The reward or the boon. 9. The road back. 10 is returning to the ordinary world having changed. And here are the stages of the heroine's journey. 1. The heroine is separated from the feminine. 2. The heroine identifies with the masculine and gathers her allies. 3. She endures a road of trials. 4. She finds an illusory boon or success. 5 is the awakening of feelings of spirituality or the acknowledgement of death. 6. Initiation and descent into the goddess. 7. Urgent yearning to reconnect with the feminine. 8. The heroine heals the mother-daughter divide. 9. The heroine heals the wounded masculine. And 10. The heroine integrates the masculine and the feminine within herself. Looking back at the hero's journey, you can see that there are stages where a Hera, a Hestia, and a Demeter can be present, although not main characters. In that same sense, there is room for other archetypes too. The magician as the mentor is a great example of a character that enters the journey at a midpoint and does not often complete the entire journey. In these stories, the journey begins and ends with a hero at home. And there needs to be someone there for him or her to say goodbye to, and to recognize the change within him or her when they return. This can be a waiting wife, a mother, a father, a husband, or children, or someone else entirely. In the heroine's journey, there is greater room for the same characters. What I mean to convey and highlight in these essays on archetypes is not to overlook them because they are rarely a main focus of a story, but to understand their utility in the story, and to recognize the Heras, the Hestias, and the Demeters in your own life, in your own stories, and your own journey. Because one day, you may have to act as those archetypes for someone else who is on their own journey through life.
This is Armstrong. This is Armstrong. Have all your prayers been answered?
It's important to have somebody who keeps a home safe, warm, and calm in your life. A home is a worthy place to rule as a domain, but humans cannot live that way entirely. Women who identify with these archetypes must be ready to live and work and play in the outside world. And husband and children alike need to leave the nest, must learn to thrive in the real world and act virtuously so that they may live full and complete lives, so that they may one day return to their home, good and whole people, with lives and stories of their own. This has been a production of Minimum Effort Media. There are video essays on this channel on the first Friday of every month. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and selecting the bell icon to be notified. If there's anything you wish to add, please leave a comment. If you'd like to contact me directly, please do so on Twitter. I am @TheLazyStoic. Thank you for watching.